I think if anyone has questions, we can start with questions, and then I can talk more about my method afterwards.
Wait, please wait for the microphone.
I want to ask how this is even possible that he spent 10 years in Norway, like doing nothing and living out of what and where, and not freezing in the street, or I don't know. Cannot imagine it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have the answer to that. It's when I started to work with this topic, I thought it was like it's a problematic situation for a lot of people, but it's not so problematic as you believe it is. It's much worse than I could imagine when I started, because it's maybe because we don't have in Norway we don't have this image of ourselves as positioning people in a situation where they can do where they are prohibited to do anything. So then we almost don't see it, because it's unlikely that it's real. So to say. Yeah.
But how he was able to live 10 years? What does he did if he was prohibited to do anything? Like, where did he live for all this time? I know he spent 1 year in this kind of prison, but like, we still have 9 years.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he did all the time, but I met him after maybe 7 years or something. And then he was, because he wanted to go back home, and at that time he was living at the farm of the guy who is called Asgeir in the first movie. And you also see him a little bit at the farm. And then later on he lived in an apartment with some other people, and I met him on the street, and he was with his bag on the street, and then he stayed at we had a house for do you call it atelier, like a cultural alternative studio. So and the sound designer had the studio he was not using, and then he said, you can live in my studio. He lived there for 1 year. Then suddenly we had 15 people living in that room, because there's other people in the same situation. So then the studio was it was quit, or they tear down the building. So he spent, but mostly he thought that some of the authorities want him to be a criminal. Like, it's almost like pushing people into a criminal situation. And that's a big problem in Oslo, because on the one hand, police are working with preventing drug dealing, but on the other hand, you know that there are people who are not able to work in a legal way, and that they hang around. For example, for Emanuel, it's very hard because, for example, his friends they work, so in the daytime he is not sure what to do, and then it's easy to hang out with the people who doesn't have anything to do in the daytime, and those people are some of those people are criminal, and then you have to be kind of in that milieu, and he was pretty strong to keep basically keep away from doing crime. So
in the first film, several times the newspaper clippings with featuring Emanuel and how they tried to drop him off in Ghana and so on. How well known was his case before you met him and started filming?
I don't know. I didn't know about it. I wanted to have, for a film that I will maybe show you later, to have one person living in a illegal situation, or where he cannot do anything. So I contact this organization for asylum seekers, and they told me about Emanuel, and that's how I got to know him. But it had been because he was part of it. This is a very complicated and long story, but he was part of some other problematic sides about the returning of refugees using criminal to bribe people into countries. So that was also part of the... It's a long time since I watched it, so I don't really exactly remember, but he was like, the police was calling to check, where is he, because now he is our witness, yeah. So, anyone hand there? No, yeah.
If you have a question, raise your hand. No?
But I think I can tell a little bit about... so when I started to make the Imagining Emanuel, I was interested in how how when you represent something in documentary, the style you represent it highly affects the content of what you will get when you sit here. So I was interested in making a study on how the style or form influenced the content, and then I had met Emanuel for another film, and I thought that his situation was depending very much on his ability to communicate his identity, and he is in a system or a culture that he doesn't know very well, and then his means of communicating are in one way are less than, for example, I have some means to make a movie, or I can write in the paper. So I thought it was important to tell Emanuel's story, but then also to investigate how we are able to see to take his story in. How is the Norwegian system or the situation for me? How my abilities to understand who he is, or to get close to him, or to see him as a human being. And I thought it was important. I discussed with Emanuel, okay, we can try to just make your story, or we can make the situation that you have been in a lot of times, where people are asking you questions or trying to find out who you are from very specific angles. For example, from the Asylum Institute angle. And then we will kind of make a film that is also about Norway, I think. And then after this movie comes the other one, and you see it's quite different. It's more... yeah, now I'm just explaining what you just saw. It's not interesting.
Are you still in contact? You know, what's he doing now?
Yeah, I'm in contact with him regularly. So we have become friends, kind of. We are friends, so we have contact, and then also with the phone, yeah. And I tried to get him to Norway, actually, because when we had the premiere of the last film, but it was very difficult. But it's also very difficult because they don't have electricity in the village, so they have a generator, and the internet is not the best, I would say. So even to do a Vimeo conference or something like that, we tried, but it was not possible. So. But I think that there's, yeah.
Why do you think that the Norwegian authorities were so convinced that he was from Ghana? And they mentioned the language test, and during the wedding ceremony, it seemed he needed some interpretation. Had he forgotten some of his native tongue, or what was
Yeah, I think he moved when he was very small. And he stayed also in Ghana, and he had there exists a paper that because he traveled in different countries in East Africa, West Africa, and so. But why they believe it, I don't know, of course. But he, when he claimed he was from Liberia, the Liberian authorities at that time was pretty run down, the whole country, and it was difficult to communicate with them. So I think that was would be a difficult task to do that, and Ghana is one of the more easy countries to communicate with. For they have an embassy in Ghana, and of course he traveled from Ghana, so there was a relation there. But I think the basic thing is that you start out with one theory, and you say that Emanuel is wrong. Then you put him in prison for 1 year because he is wrong. And then maybe you start to doubt after all that he was wrong, but then I think it feels a little bit late to start to go back, because you have tried to send him to Ghana twice. You have even tried to leave him at international area at the airport. You had the guy trying to bribe him into Ghana. It would be very difficult to conclude that. But we were wrong, and he was right. So I think that at least that is what Emanuel thinks, that they are educated people and they don't want to lose the face in front of him that he was right. That's his theory. But there is, it's complicated. It's not easy to know, anyway. But I would say that a lot of police officers that Emanuel met. When he told them that I want to go back, I have already got contact with Liberia, they mostly tried to help him, but then they were put off the case. So they were taken off, so they cannot complete. At least his person in the police was always shifting, so there was no real progress. Yeah.
Any questions? Yes.
Yeah. Can you catch it?
Thanks. I've got 2 questions. So the first one is about the first film. Did you hope that the film would bring on some changes to people in a similar situation in Norway, and has that happened in any way? And the second question is about the pineapple farm. About the pineapple farm. How do you come to Ghana and get yourself a pineapple farm? Because he comes there in the scene and he says, this is my pineapple farm and I would like to extend it. So it seemed very easy for him that this was possible for him. So I'm interested about that. That was about changes. If you hoped, yeah.
Because if the film, I hoped the film would make change, yes. If it made change, not in the law or not concretely as I know. But of course I hope that some people who watch it might change a bit. But I don't think, I don't know. But when they maybe use it at IOM or I have another film that I know they are using at what's the name of the Asylum Institute. So they use it for internal training. So that's a good change, or that can make a change, I think. About the pineapple farm, he also had he had quite a lot of money from the prize that he got from the Norwegian government. So he the Norwegian government had to hand over the award money for human rights to him, which is illegal because he earns, or like he deserves that money, and if he deserves that money, he cannot take the money. Then it's illegal. It's only if it's crisis help, if you are starving or something. And then also Asgeir and his family, his friend at the farm, they have been supporting him. And also we had a collection of money after the first film, so he had money support. But it's not easy in Liberia. He's living, and it's a very. It seems to me much more easy for him, like socially, and the community thing. I think he enjoys it a lot, but economically it's very difficult. It's not it's not the #1 wish country to go back to for most people. But it looks like it's a really lovely place for him. And also Asgeir sent his son, and the sons, and they had never been outside Europe, and so they traveled actually back to down to Liberia to check if what he was saying was true, and to talk to Liberian authorities. Why did I say that? But it's a great. It was really great by them to just go down there and do a lot of the work that the police could easily have done, instead of spending many years. Yeah.
Yes.
I was just wondering, how did you go about with the transferring the material from him, like from the camera, and how did you organize that?
Yeah, we do it by DHL. Is the best in that part of the world. Was the only to. Yeah, so but it was very difficult, and I didn't know even if he's gonna survive on the traveling back. And the camera was stolen in the Ivory Coast, and there was a civil war, or kind of at the moment. So it was a lot of problems on the way. Yeah.
Hi, I have a couple of questions. The first one, I don't know if anyone's asked, how did you get the authorities to comply with you with filming? Was it quite difficult to get their agreements? The second one is, does Emanuel at all regret going to Norway in the first place to find a better life? Does he wish he had just stayed in Africa and, you know, sorted things out there? And the third one is, how did you decide to edit the second film? Did you do it in compliance with him? Did you do it in agreement with him? Did he have any creative input? And how did you decide on the order of the narrative? Sorry, lots of questions.
The first one was the authorities. So there's a transparency law in Norway. It means official institutions should be transparent, or should strive to be that. These institutions seem not to want that. So it took a long time. It took maybe a half year to get one of the interviews. Then there was some problems also on the way, and they have also the right to take out stuff, but not everything, because they already say it. That's the quick answer. It was problematic, but there is also that you just have to. You have to have time, and you have to have a production system that is okay, you hire the cinematographer for Thursday, and on Wednesday, but oh, he's sick, or and then on Friday, oh, but now he's on holiday, and then so you have to just deal with that. For example, at Trandum, the asylum prison, the people there want me to film the place, but the central police don't want it. So for example, when I film there, then the central police say this room is not the right one. Then say, okay, I will go back and film the right one. And the people there say, oh yeah, but it's just it's basically the same room, just the next door room. And then just come on Monday, and then 2 minutes later comes email, oh, we didn't know you're gonna shoot, so we don't have time. And that's probably the police tracking the phone and telling them you should not let him film. Then on Monday I call and I say, but I'm not filming, I'm just taking one photo shot. Like I just say it. They say, oh yeah, but you can film, just come, are you outside or can you come? So they want The second question was just
Did Emmanuel regret going to
to Norway. Yeah, no, I think he says that he's really happy that
Did he think
that
it was going to be easier?
yeah, I hope so. But he didn't know he's going to Europe. The boat was going to Brazil, and then Brazil didn't want to take him, and then it was going around, and they let him off in Scandinavia. But he say it's like he says kind of that that he has become stronger and that he learned a lot. I think he says in the second film that he learned a lot of stuff about the world. Maybe not only nice stuff, but he, yeah, I can't totally answer for you because what he says now and what he says in the film is also presenting an image that he is now happy. So, and the third question was,
How did you edit the film
Yeah,
with
the
him,
editing.
and how did you decide on the narrative?
yeah, so basically, or maybe it doesn't look like that, but basically the first film he has been more influential on the editing because he was in Norway and we discussed the concept of the film. And the second, which looks more maybe like it's directly from him, he didn't, he was not in the editing because he was traveling and it was hard to send stuff. So that's basically very much decided by me. So it's yeah, that's the result or how it went. And also I didn't want to tell, he don't know how to edit, and I didn't want to tell him how to shoot because I want just to see how he is shooting instead of me instructing him. Then of course there had to be a lot of editing, or had to be a lot of material, and then go to a very small package. Yeah.
Go ahead. Yes.
Okay, just my question is quite complementary to the last of the three questions. What was the agreement with Emanuel on shooting? Because if I notice it well, there was some kind of combination of materials, and he had probably one or several cameras that you...
In the first or second?
The second one. And if there were some rules that you agreed, how to
no.
make it like a diary or just
No,
a
just no
notebook?
rules. If you want, I said a few things. You maybe know the situation you are in, but the people don't know it already, and they are maybe not into your emotions. So please take some time so the people can get into your mood. That was one thing. After a while, I understood I have to say this because he was like, the camera, oh, hello, I'm Emanuel, blah, 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 and then so it was very short, so I had to have it a little bit longer. And then just if you want to show your face, don't film yourself with a window behind. But he did it, so he liked that black, really black look. But no, I didn't want to do it because I wanted to get something from him that I cannot control, and I want to have why make this film this way is because I want to have some input from his reality that I cannot generate myself or construct. And I want it to be not so I can just fix it neatly, precisely as I want it. I want to keep some of his style and his kind of representing his reality. So I didn't want to tell him too much. Yeah.
I would like to ask about the significance of the writer Knut Hamsun in Norway, because I happen to have read it many years ago. And he's something of a national treasure, is he not?
Yeah.
And so it was really ironic for Norwegian audiences, this book they know so well about a person struggling with hunger, and then...
Yeah, that everybody knows Hunger by Knut Hamsun. This is about a person or kind of superego of Hamsun walking around in Oslo and being hungry and being an artist and striving with his self-image. Yeah, so that's kind of our major writer, or we have a lot, but but like a national treasure, and then it came the what's the 100-year after thing, and then yeah, I just thought it was nice to let him encounter that, or they encounter him, and see what happened. I wanted to actually make a film with Emanuel as just to make a remake of Hunger, but it's a very complicated book. It's a simple book, but it's a complicated topic, so I don't want to reduce it to make a political statement, but I thought it was okay to have it in just a scene. Yeah.
Okay, I think we may need to move on to the next section. We talk about your other works and
yeah, then I will just get my computer and stuff.
We have until 1 o'clock.
So basically, okay, so I make documentary, and it's hard to just say like, okay, I do like this or this, because it's some of the process is, of course, my English, it's bevisst. Bevisst? Conscious. You're also Norwegian, no? I speak Danish. Okay, yeah. But a lot of the process is also unconscious or whatever. But I think that the basic thing for me is that I'm interested in reality. That would be very common maybe to say, but I am interested in my relationship to... for me, reality is this, okay, so I call it outside myself. This is not philosophically right, but that there is something outside of myself that I cannot have full control over, that there is, I cannot, that I feel that there is something about the world that I have not yet accessed, then I feel that that is the reality, and not just my construct or my examples for for telling you what I think about something or something. So I think that, and that reality, that thing I cannot grasp, I feel basically that is totally complex, or that it's infinitely, I can never fully grasp the world outside. That's one of the basics for my way of relating to reality. And that makes, on one hand, it makes a distance that I can, that it's, so I cannot fully access. But also the presence, or the feeling of the presence of something that I cannot fully grasp or articulate yet. That is something I like very much in when I have experiences, like maybe with other people. Like it's very easy with other people because I know that I can feel that there is something inside you that I don't have access to. It's like more obvious with other people because we know that I hide something from you. Maybe you hide something, or I am not even able to express my whole self. Is this too complicated, or yeah, it will be more concrete afterwards. Or yeah, and I also have this with nature, and in like if you are in like ecstatic moments, I have this. Yeah, and sometimes also with film, and also when I edit a movie, I get this situation when I have a shot that is not perfectly fitting for my hypothesis or my story or my theme, but it has some inner value and some something about it that I cannot just put in a scheme for with a certain goal, or like I want to tell this, so I just construct this 1 + 1 + 1. Okay, I have 3, but there are more ambivalent elements in film shots, so I also like this in film. Okay, now the more concrete. So I think the major thing I have been thinking, that maybe now I talk about stuff that I'm thinking about. Maybe this is not exactly what I'm doing when I'm making the films. This is hard to say, but at least I'm interested in this intellectually, and in my process I think about it. And I think a lot about what happens when I simplify the world, when I make a representation or documenting something, I simplify it, or I open up the world to reveal more complexity. And in the beginning I was thinking to simplify is very bad. On the other hand, I have then found tried two tactics to deal with this. And one is to simplify, because when I have too many impressions from the world, it's hard for me to see details, because it's overwhelming, the impressions. So I think to simplify can be to be very concrete with something. If anyone watched my movie Things yesterday, I guess they don't show up here today because it was very concrete. That's one way to simplify. Another way to simplify, I think, is to abstract things, to make things into ideas. And I think one of my tactics has been to make things concrete, and then it's more easy for me to see some complexity in that small thing or that very concrete thing. I'll show you some examples. Basically, I tried to find the form that is fitting for the content, or this for each single film. I don't have like a specific style for how I make documentaries, but maybe I have. It's hard to say, but at least I try to find the right one for each film. And in this, of course, it's so we shot with a still camera on his calling. He suggested the calling because he was going to convince me how long the phone will take. So he said, "Okay, it's hard to tell you, Thomas, but let's just call and I will show you how it is." And then so I thought, okay, I hate sitting in a line on the phone. It's good for the identification of the audience with his situation, and it's a kind of an image of the situation he has been in for a long time. Then I thought it's good should we do it just one take, or should we do it with one take? Of course, it's just a recording, but with stills images. And I thought that it's good to do something to have kind of a distance in the style, which I often try to do also in Imagining Emanuel, to stylistically make some distance and simplification, simplification that it's more that it's not. I take away elements. For example, with still images, you take away the movement, or with the Black Studio, I take away the context or parts of his context. Imagining Emanuel. So, and I do this. My theory is that it's easier to see details on the specific concrete thing that I want to focus on if there are less disturbances. And I think kind of this distance makes the audience have this desire to overcome the distance, to get closer to the person. For example, Emanuel shot from a little bit afar in a cold condition or the black condition. Then you want to get closer to him, or at least I want to get closer to him, despite of the style. Instead of the film trying to make him more close to you, it withdraws a little bit, and then I hope that the audience get this desire to get closer. That's what I think is the tactic. And then, of course, this black and white it's a little bit cliche of something that is problematic or social realistic, but I also thought that black and white still images shot analog would have this kind of reference to the past, that it's that's the style you use when you're going to tell about the past. And I thought it's nice to mismatch the style of something in the past with something that is happening at that time in the present. And I thought, let's see how the effect of the style, stylistically talking about the past, but for a Norwegian audience, understanding that it's a present thing that you're talking about. And I wanted to see the effect of that. Any questions this far? I'm getting dry in my... No. Should we? Do you want to see? Do you want to hear me talk more? You want to see another example of tactic? Yeah, let's do that. Just briefly that. So my tactic has been on one side to control as much as I can of setting in some of the films, in Imagining Emanuel and this one, and in the black and white, to take away unnecessary, or what I see as unnecessary parts. But I see this really as documentary for me, or in the way I'm interested in the world, because I do these interventions not to make to stage a different reality or to stage my vision. That's maybe more in the editing, but a lot of this I do to be able to see some layer of reality that I cannot access if I film it in another way, or if I don't control the setting and the reality of it. So I call it documentary because I am aiming at something that I still are not controlling, or try to reveal something that I don't have the control over. So if I only present them with my ID, that they should illustrate this and this, then it would be fiction. But I'm interested in to see some small part of them that I don't access normally and that I cannot control. That's one of my tactics. Then the other that I have used more lately is to try to lose control, like I did with with Out of Norway, the last film with Emanuel, where I give him the camera and I don't give him much instructions. I did this also in the movie Things, or Thing. And I did it also in a project called 17,000 Islands, which is exhibited at, what's the place here? The Deca. Yeah, okay. So that's an interactive documentary where Edwin, an Indonesian director who has only the name Edwin, and I made a film about the artificial version of Indonesia that is made to present a nice picture of Indonesia. We shot there. We tried to just reveal. We shot accidentally, shifting the camera each quarter. We had no plan. We tried to lose control in some way. Then we edit the movie. Then we find out that the editing is, of course, a lot of the control and the image building and putting thoughts into the material and presenting you basically with our thoughts and not the reality that we have recorded. So then in Indonesia, the case is that there is a lot of different cultures, languages, races, and we wanted to to take this Suharto image of a nice packed Indonesia, like a nice package, and break it up. We succeeded maybe a little bit by making our movie there. But then we thought that this is not enough. We should give the power of the editing to a diverse public, or to a multitude of individuals. So then 17,000 Islands is a website that you can go to and there you can basically destroy our movie by taking parts of it and editing your own film. And normally, when we go to festivals, we screen the movies that people have edited instead of our own. And then we have this installation where you can also do it. And you can also do it at home. I will give, I'll put some flyers, very nice flyers, so take one over there when we're finished. Quickly, can I ask if there is a question? Yeah. Any questions? And if there is no, okay.
So I wondered what you did first. First, did you write like I need a policeman, I need a deaf person, I need someone with scars, or did you first know the people, gather the people, and then wrote the script?
Kind of, in Norway, call it what gets to your mind. Okay, I want. It would be nice to have a policeman. I tried to find a policeman. It would be nice to have someone. I met this guy in the street that he was very destroyed. The face was very destroyed. I thought that I had a hard time talking to him without his destroyed face taking too much place in my relation to him. So I thought that's like a friction. I want to have someone like that. I didn't find the guy again. So I searched for someone who has some similarities. It's hard to tell the whole process. But yeah, anyone quickly? So, then I think it would be nice just can I screen a 1 minute trailer for 17,000 Islands so you get a little bit of it? Is it okay? Yeah, it's called Iceland trailer or something. Okay, so yeah, then you're better to see something than to see me. So I will just say goodbye and thank you for listening.